Well, sorry we're running a little bit late. Thank you for your patience. Welcome to this press conference of Jennifer's Body. I'm going to kindly ask you all to be here for 1 minute, taking the pictures you need to take, and then if you don't mind, please go into the back of the room. You've done that many times, you know, and switch the flashes off because that interferes with the press conference. Please switch your mobiles off too, if you can. And I'm going to insist a little bit in please go into the back of the room because that's a busy press conference. Let's please welcome to the stage the director, actors, writer, producer, and the mediator of Jennifer's Body. Thank you.
You got it. Oh, wow.
Hey, Adam, how are you? Megan, look up! Megan, look up! Second row, please. Megan, right here in the middle. Right there. One stop back in front. Megan, to the left. This stop, more left. Amanda, right here. Megan, I'm really straight ahead, straight ahead, Amanda. Amanda, beside, please. Megan, right here, please. Megan, here, please. Megan. There we go. Thank you, ma'am. Adam, right here. Red hat, Megan, please. Thank you so much. Amanda, one more, please. Amanda, right here.
Hello? Guys, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Can we please move to the back of the room, please? We have to start. We're running a little bit late. I do apologize, and thank you. Up to you, Colin.
Okay. Good afternoon. My name's Colin Geddes, and I'm one of the international programmers here at TIFF, and I look after the Midnight Madness selection. And last night we had one of the most incredible debuts of the series. We had a packed house, one of the maddest red carpets ever, and for the first time in Midnight Madness history, an Oscar Award winner on the stage. So some people say that we've broken into the mainstream and we're out of the Midnight Madness ghetto. We're still there. We love it. We love the dirt and the grime. All right. And the film itself, Jennifer's Body, is a sharp, fun, smart, sexy, and bloody horror comedy. But the most interesting thing about it is this is where the kind of masculine-driven horror genre has been taken back by the ladies. And I'd like to introduce to you the director of Jennifer's Body, Karin Kusama.
Hi.
The director of Girl Fight, which actually screened here at TIFF in 2000. And we also have Amanda Seyfried, the lovely actress who plays Needy, the geeky girl heroine who becomes a trooper at the end to fight evil. We also have Johnny Simmons, who plays Needy's boyfriend. And, of course, we have, needs no introduction, Megan Fox, who plays Jennifer and literally rips out hearts. And we have Adam Brody, who plays Nikolai, the lead singer of a literally demonic emo band. And, of course, screenwriter Diablo Cody. And Jason Reitman, who is the producer of the film and is a triple threat this year.
It's one thing when you mispronounce Karin's name, but now you're mispronouncing my name. You know, as a producer, it's my job to protect my director, and her name is Karin Kusama, and I don't care if, you know, even in Canadian, it's Karin Kusama.
I mangle the best of names. So first off, I'd like to ask, why did you choose to jump into the bloody world of horror films? Yeah, for you.
I've always loved horror films, and I look back on a lot of them fondly, and I think they have a lot to do with adolescence and how you grow up and how you sort of find a repository for all of your like childhood anxieties. So it was a natural fit for me, but I was really lucky that it came in front of me because that wouldn't have normally happened.
And Diablo, we were talking about this last night. Growing up, horror films were kind of a forbidden fruit for you. So why did you choose to, again, go for the blood with this?
Well,
A departure from your previous film.
It is a little bit of a departure. There were no cannibals in Juno. I think I've always loved the horror genre. I've loved horror films my entire life. When I was a kid, I was restricted from watching them most of the time, which made that sort of section of the video store all the more tantalizing. So now being able to make a horror film is like very delicious. It's nice.
And Megan, why did you? What drew you to this? Because this is quite a change from your previous works.
Well, I mean, I think that's what drew me to it. I was getting the scripts I was usually getting offered were like not of this caliber. They were, like the straight to DVD, where your wardrobe consists of a bikini and that's about it. Like that's the kind of shit I was coming across. And then I was lucky to get this script, and it was Diablo, and I think we're all. She's brilliant. I think everyone feels the same way, and I felt really lucky to have the opportunity to get to work with something she was involved in.
So I'd like to open up to the floor and ask you just to keep the questions specifically to the film. Anyone? Yes.
Hi, Phil Newton from Eat My Brains in the UK. I've got a question for Amanda and for Megan. Now, your characters have this very close relationship in the film. Was it difficult to convey that level of intimacy so convincingly while you were shooting, or did that just come naturally to you both?
Thank you. Well, I mean, it was a bit uncomfortable, obviously, because that's, making a movie and being intimate in front of, tons of people is hard, but at the same time, it's good that it was convincing to you, and, I think it was needed to a point to show that side of our relationship.
I think we got better at being friends on screen the longer we worked together. I think the first scene we filmed was we were both really unhappy with it, and it was really awkward, and we didn't feel like it played as though we had known each other our whole lives, which is something, the characters were friends since they were little kids, and you want that to be believable. And just the more you get to know someone, clearly, the better your relationship's going to play on screen. So I think by the end, we were much, much more believable.
Do we have anyone else? Yes, sir.
Hi, I'm Bruce DeMare with the Toronto Star. Obviously, there's an audience for these movies, teen horror films, teen films in general. Would anyone like to speculate on why there's such an audience, and what is the appeal of putting teenagers in danger, that kind of thing?
Teenagers are in danger. I mean, I think just by being teenagers. I mean, I kind of feel like it's a naturally precipitous place to be. And so horror movies, in my opinion, just speak to the terror that young people feel and can't articulate. And I also just think the visceral pleasure of movies always, from childhood on, involves being afraid, wanting to laugh, wanting to cry, wanting to fall in love. So to me, this movie actually answers a lot of those adolescent needs and beyond, I hope.
Never seen a one. It's funny. I think it's a misnomer that guys love horror films, because traditionally it's actually women who love horror films, and guys just like taking their girls to the horror films. They make great date movies.
Actually, I'd like to talk about the choice, the way that you dealt with the sexuality in the film was very frank and candid and very refreshing when it comes to what's out there for horror films. You dealt it in a way that isn't really seen on screen, especially when it comes to teen sex. So can you talk a little bit about your decision to portray that, and Diablo, where you came from to inject that into the script.
Are you talking about how is the sexuality portrayed in the movie? Is that what you said?
Yeah, the way that you portrayed it. It's because it's frank, it's funny, but it's real.
I wanted it to seem very realistic and candid because, we have all these cliches about movie sex, and it's always very graceful and sort of organic in a very romantic way. And I liked that in this movie the kids had to plan to have sex. They bought their condoms at Super Target in advance. And, and then the scene that they have is very awkward, but it's very touching at the same time. It's probably my favorite scene in the movie, to be honest. So, that was, I definitely wanted there to be a realistic teen sex scene, and I feel like Karin did such a beautiful job directing that, and Amanda did. Oh, I love it. I'm getting all gooey.
I mean, also, I think it's, in a funny way, what I loved about the script was that it's very easy, particularly with horror, you can get away with a very negative depiction of sexuality as if sexuality itself is the horror. And in this case, I felt like there were a lot of reversals that were very surprising, that the seductions and the sexuality that Jennifer projects does have this sort of carnivorous and consuming and negative impact. But on the other hand, Needy, I think, has this very sort of positive relationship with Chip that's open and awkward, but very real and connected and engaged. And I just felt like instead of just sort of what I think has become the cliche of the genre, where somehow a lot of sex, a lot of meaningless sex, somehow, whatever meaningless really means, leads to murder, I felt like this was reversing a lot of those tropes.
Mark Wigmore with Proud FM Radio here, and hi. And just wondering if, on the success of the last film, obviously both of you guys involved in Juno, after that, was this sort of waiting to go, or did you say, okay, well, we've had all the success, so let's write something?
No, actually, I had written this. I wrote Jennifer's Body kind of in the same era that I wrote Juno. It was Juno had not yet gone into production, so really it was just like I had finished Juno, and we had kind of the ball rolling on that project, and so I had some time to myself, i.e. no life, and I thought to myself, all right, well now, what do I really want to do? What really appeals to me? What would I want to see? And immediately I thought a horror film. So I just started writing this one just on spec, not knowing that there would be any success to come with Juno. So it was it's kind of serendipitous for this to be the second film because it is so different, and I couldn't have planned it this well.
Anyone else? Yes, sir.
I guess it's a question for Jason. Like you produced this, was there ever any thought to maybe directing it, or what's your process to? I produce this one, I direct that one.
No, I think everyone involved knew that I was not the right director for this from the start, and that Karin was. She's just exceptionally talented and had insight into this screenplay that no one else besides Diablo seemed to have, and so it wasn't even a thought.
Question for Adam, Megan, Johnny, and Amanda. When you have dialogue like this, like Diablo's, that's very there's vernacular and it's very unique. How do you go about as actors actually developing these characters, knowing that these lines are kind of unusual and having to adapt to that?
Making it believable, I guess. Right. I don't know. Personally, I didn't have any specific preparation for it. I mean, I think that's really good. I don't find it that unusual as much as it is just well written. I mean, I think it's easier. The better it is written, the easier it is to say and sound believable and makes you sound good. So, I mean, I think quite the opposite. It's when you have something that's horrible that you have to really rack your brains and figure out how to say that.
I agree.
Amanda?
Tongue twisting at times, but for me, you have to just make it look like there's a lot of new lingos, and she created a lot of funny kind of slang words. So you just had to spit it out like you made it up. Which is mostly what acting is all about.
Yeah, I mean, really, it seemed like the challenge for any actor in that situation, I think, is to make whatever they say, whether it's quite banal or quite heightened or operatic. And I think Diablo's language has its own logic, but I don't think it's complete theater either, you know? I mean, I think it's just about making it real, which I felt like the actors did such a beautiful job of.
Yes, there in the gray. Yes.
Hi. So we've been talking about this as a horror movie fitting into that genre, but I also see it as part of kind of the Mean Girls, well, there's also Mean Girls, but that whole genre of movies, like the high school bitch movie. Why do you think that these movies continue to be made? How are you trying to make yours different? And are girls really that evil?
Stand
Hear
up.
all of that?
Stand up.
Oh God, oh my. Hi. Okay, do you need me to repeat the whole question?
Yeah.
I'm so sorry. Okay, so I see this not just as a horror movie, but as part of a series of movies that includes Heathers and Clueless and Mean Girls and a lot of like the high school bitch movies. So I'm wondering how you tried to make yours different. Do you see it fitting into that group? And also, are girls really that evil?
This is for me. I mean, I think the concept, the sort of the social idea of the queen bee is very real. I mean, I think it starts in about third grade or second grade, and you do see females who just understand their power more instinctively than the other girls around them. I don't know whether that power necessarily translates into a future in which they become powerful women, but I do think you see this like social hierarchy, particularly in high school, that's pretty painful. And so to me, what was interesting about the movie is it could riff on those ideas of Mean Girls and Heathers and Clueless, but literalize the tyranny of that kind of behavior. And so for me, that actually felt very emotionally true as the girl on the other end of the spectrum who was not the queen bee. I kind of related.
I just think there's nothing scarier than a bitch. So to me, I think the bitch should just take her place in this sort of catalog of classic horror characters like Dracula, Frankenstein, and like a bitchy, attractive woman. Because it's about that bad.
Okay. Yes, stand up.
This question is for Megan. What is the scariest horror movie you've seen and why?
The scariest horror movie I've seen? I don't watch a lot of horror movies because I'm a big fraidy cat and I'm afraid of the dark. So they don't mix well with my lifestyle. But the last one I really sat through and watched, and it's so obvious. It's like saying that you like Led Zeppelin, but it was The Exorcist. That really fucked me up when I was a little kid, and it turned me off of watching horror movies. And I watched that when I was 9. And that, other than that and this movie called Tooth Fairy, or was it Darkness Falls? Darkness Falls about the Tooth Fairy? That's the last one I saw. And it was really lame, but it scared me. I slept with my mom for a week. So.
And what about Amanda? Amanda, are you a fan of horror films, or do you have a favorite horror film?
No, I don't like horror films because they really do kind of ruin my life a little bit. But no, I have a specific horror film called Hideaway with Jeremy Sisto, and I saw that when I was like, I don't know, in 6th grade, and I couldn't sleep the entire summer. It actually still affects me. It really screwed me up. It just, I'm sensitive to that kind of stuff, so.
Yes, sir, in the back. Yep.
I was going to say, if you're making films or you've seen films that scare the heck out of you, how do you feel some responsibility for this film? Because it's going to scare the hell out of a lot of girls, right?
Why wouldn't it scare the hell out of a lot of boys if it's going to scare the hell out of a lot of girls? Just wondering. I don't think it's that scary. I don't think it's a scary movie. I mean, if I were to use my talking points from the studio, I would call it a sexy thriller with a wicked sense of humor. But I think that it's a comedy with horror elements, but it's not a frightening, scary movie where you're going to lose sleep over it. It's just not. That's not what I think any of us were really going for. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
No.
And yes, in the center there. Yes.
Sorry, Laura from Hello Magazine. Megan, you mentioned earlier that for you and Amanda, it took a little bit of time for you guys to work on your relationship and to make it believable that you'd been friends for so long. I'm just wondering if you can elaborate on that a bit more, if there was an experience or something on set, like a moment that you kind of pushed past it.
I think just all of us living together at the Sutton place in Vancouver breeds its own sort of experiences. Yeah, it's a bonding experience living there. I think just the more we got to know each other, the more you could bring that natural relationship to screen. I don't know if there was ever a moment where we were like, yeah, that was really awesome. We did good that time.
But you guys had a chemistry like right away. Even in rehearsals, you were like, I felt like you guys were easy with each other and able to.
I think that you're easy to prey on in real life because she's very sweet and sort of, you can tell, like a little, not shy, but kind of. And that worked well for our characters because I'm not that way, so.
I mean, we figured each other out pretty much right away. I mean, it was kind of, wasn't difficult, clearly.
Yes.
Question for Diablo and for Karen. Are there particular horror movies, not necessarily that you liked or that scared you as a kid, but that actually influenced you in terms of what you wanted to see in this movie? And then the second question specifically, you mentioned Rocky Horror Picture Show in the film. The scene where Colin gets killed in Shadow, was that deliberately a riff on the sex scenes from Rocky Horror?
I
never even considered that. Was it? I have to know.
No.
That's cool. No, that's interesting. I never even thought about that. In terms of, I think visually, when Karen and I first started talking about this, we both agreed that we wanted it to have a very warm kind of vintage feel, like Carrie, the Argento films. We wanted it to have kind of a warmth that you don't see in a lot of modern horror movies. A lot of them kind of have this very cold, antiseptic look these days, and we wanted to get back to the vivid colors and the super cartoony blood, and I don't know. I just think the movie looks fantastic.
Thank you. I also think, it's funny because before I had even seen Juno and I didn't know that there were going to be these references to Argento, I had put together some stills from a bunch of Argento movies just because he has this obsession with beautiful women. And I think there's a way that Amanda and Megan are beautiful in the movie that the camera can kind of sort of worship and be frightened by their beauty. And so there was that component along with the color that Diablo was mentioning, a sort of more approachable, warmer kind of visual palette for the world of the film. And also tonally, I think there are some other horror films along with a Carrie that I felt had a relationship, particularly The Howling, which to me did a beautiful job of sort of exploring characters in this very heightened environment and kind of mixing. There was a time when I think Nightmare on Elm Street and American Werewolf and Howling, and there were movies that I thought had a real sense of lightness about them at the same time that they were exploring the horror. And that felt like true to this movie too, in some way.
I just want to point out that one of the reasons why I was excited to have Jennifer's Body and have Diablo in Midnight Madness is we actually briefly met in 2006 when we had the world premiere of Dario Argento's Mother of Tears.
Yeah.
And Diablo literally arrived, dropped her bags, and raced to the Ryerson to see the new Dario Argento film. And
I did not want to miss that, and it was a very memorable Q&A with Mr. Argento afterwards.
Yeah,
that you would have liked that. This is boring compared to that. I'm just a big horror fan. That's why I'm so overwhelmed right now, to be honest. Like, it's so cool to be here with this film.
Do we have anyone else here? Well, I'd like to actually go back to just the decision with the production design. We were talking about that last night, is that the rooms especially in Needy's house, felt so so real, but at the same time, just kind of there was kind of a bit of an urban decay and everything, but that kind of resonated and made it feel more believable. Can you just talk about your production designer and why you chose that? Yeah.
Well, we were working with a Toronto-based designer named Arv Graywall, and he's fantastically talented. And I had shown him a bunch of material that sort of helped, I think, steer just the look I was going for, which was a fairly rich use of color and texture, but a sense that it was sort of incorporated into space and not just completely over-designed, which can often happen if you get too enthusiastic. And I have to say, Arv had a technical facility with aging spaces that it really is the magic of movies when you see sort of the bare essentials of the design and then see how it can be worn down and made kind of lived in. I thought it was a slightly heightened aesthetic, but he did a beautiful, beautiful job.
And I'd also like to touch on the soundtrack. Now, did you work with Diablo on picking what that soundtrack would be, or was that?
I mean, we have similar. I think Diablo and I both kind of have similar interests. I mean, I know when I first read the script, I kept thinking about the Misfits, which never ended up in the movie.
Yeah.
But the Misfits or the Cramps, like a kind of goth punk winking sort of sound. And at one point, I remember saying like, I wanted to do a little homage to the character in Silence of the Lambs who is singing before she's kidnapped, essentially, by Buffalo Bill. And I wanted Colin to be singing at the top of his lungs. She's singing American Girl, the Tom Petty song, and so I thought, okay, maybe we can find something for him to sing. And I remember mentioning this Screeching Weasel cover of I Can See Clearly Now. And I just think the idea of a guy going to like have his first date with basically the hottest girl in school screaming out, I can see clearly now, the rain is gone. I was just like, that's got to happen. So we were able to...
It's so sad.
It's
you know
so
what's
sad.
going to happen.
Yeah, so, but I felt like, in a way, like Diablo's aesthetic, as much personally as in the writing itself, helped me also feel really open to using music like The Sword, which is this kind of speed metal band from Austin, and use music from like Panic at the Disco or Florence and the Machine, or I felt like there was a pretty eclectic use of music, but that applied to the world of the movie.
Any more questions? Yes.
Just yeah. It is on?
Yep.
Oh, just on the music tip, Adam, I know that you were kind of instrumental in bringing like the soundtrack into the OC, a couple years back. Well, so I've read, with your Death Cab and everything like that. So it was a kind of a dream role to be able to be in a rock band.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be a bigger dream if I could sing worth anything. That would have made it really fun, but I can't. But either way, it was a lot of fun to... I thought it wouldn't be, since it wasn't my voice. I thought, man, it's going to suck. But lip singing was totally great. I enjoyed it. But I wasn't that instrumental in the music aspect, besides just, I don't know, dancing.
But you play a rock star with a lot of authenticity.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, I've seen a lot of shows, and, thank you.
Any rock star that you kind of modeled your character after?
Yeah, I mean... Not one in particular, but I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd like it to be the closest to maybe Brandon Flowers, but really take your pick. I mean...
What's funny is when we were rehearsing your prom performance, our amazing music supervisor, Randy Poster, leaned over and said, I feel like he's channeling a Morrissey. And I was like, I'm all for it.
Cool.
Like a little writhing and contorting, never hurt anybody.
No, it's true. In fact, I tried to, I had my hair up. The prom performance, let's go with Morrissey.
Yeah.
The mustache in the end, let's call that Freddie Mercury, or let's call that Brandon Flowers, and I don't know what we'll call the first guy.
Nice.
Anyways, yes.
Yes, I have a question to Megan. You have been the object of beauty in films made by men. Mm-hmm. How different was it to do a film, the object of beauty in a film made by women?
I mean, the movie is just so completely different, and it's a different it's different working for a woman because she obviously understands. She was much more sensitive to how I may be feeling on a moment-to-moment basis, which is a very bizarre feeling for me. I'm not used to that. But I feel like it was encouraged that the character, for us to be beautiful, not in the sense that we have tons of hair extensions in and then I have to be like, have my Swahili tan on and be glowing all the time. Like, we were real people in this real town, and she showed the beauty in that there's real is beautiful. You don't have to look like an airbrushed Cosmopolitan cover all the time to be attractive. And I didn't have to bend over a bike, which was nice.
Anyone else here? No. Why did you choose Canada to shoot in?
Well, Jason had done Juno in Vancouver, and I mean, I think it was pretty much right away, Jason, right, that Vancouver was on the table. I mean,
yeah, we had such a positive experience shooting Juno in Vancouver, and we went back and used really the same crew, starting with our production manager Brad Von Aragon all the way down.
It was an amazing team of people.
Yeah, well, it felt like a family being reunited.
Yeah, yeah, and also just it beyond the financial imperatives, I felt like, wow, where else in the world do you get a crew that's commensurate to what you would find in LA, but with everyone being just a little bit nicer?
And it's actually just getting a little crowded over here, so you might want to chill. Anyone else here? Okay. Last night's screening was, the audience was electric. It was something else. I think that we've really been able to kind of prime our Midnight Madness audience to become kind of another kind of experience. Can you just relate to how you felt going into that room?
Oh, I felt fantastic. I wonder though about the actors and Diablo. Like, there was so much incredible attention on our cast and on Diablo, and the lights flashing in everyone's face. It's truly a surreal experience.
I always get nervous, but I thought it was amazing. The reaction from the crowd was just outstanding. It's cool.
But it was an amazing thing to have a packed house and to have people so generous-spirited and seeming to really enjoy the movie and stay for the Q&A at 2 a.m. It was really, really a great experience. I'm a little plastered this morning,
which
but
might
yes.
explain some of the listlessness up here.
Yeah, we got home pretty late.
And Amanda, you have 2 films in the festival this year, both very different, unique roles. So we'll be seeing you again for another press conference, I'm sure.
Oh, really?
Well, possibly.
Okay.
But can you just talk about what drew you to the character? Because it's a really compelling character, because you're very kind of shy and awkward, but then you kind of make a full turn to just kick ass and vanquish evil.
Yeah, there's nothing more fun than like a true arc, for your character. I mean, she went through a real transformation, and it's exciting to play someone so realistic, especially in the beginning. I mean, everything about the character, she's just who she is, and there's she's not covering for anything. I mean, she's just a good person, and she's crazy about her best friend. She's in love with her in a way, and it's so sweet and pure, and then she gets damaged because of all the emotional shit going on. I mean, losing her friend in every way, you know. It was difficult. It was not. I love playing someone who doesn't care about I love playing someone who just doesn't have to look so good, because I don't feel very confident in usually how I look anyway, and it's nice to play just like a frumpy realistic girl, and I relate to Needy a lot in many ways, so it was really, really good all around attractive role for me.
It was kind of a horror film riff on Betty and Veronica, I'd say.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'd like to thank you all for coming to this, and congratulations.
Thanks so much. Thank you. Thanks, everybody. Thanks.
I'm so glad she mentioned the 2 o'clock. Look down. No, in the middle. I know. Amanda, one more Megan real quick. Megan right here. Together. Ladies, looking together, straight ahead, thank you. Ladies, here. Ladies in the middle, please. Amanda? Ladies, both of you in my lens, please. I appreciate it. Thank you. Megan, can I Megan, come on. Megan. Now I'm gonna go.